Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and I'm going to be talking about Chapter 10, Emotion and Motivation. On 10.1, Motivation, it states that motivation is the wants or needs that direct behavior towards a goal. Instinct motivation comes from an internal satisfaction like enjoying learning. Extrinsic motivation comes from external rewards like money, praise, or avoiding punishment. Most behavior involves a mix of both. Culture, education, influence motivation. Negative environment like pressure, intimidation, heavy evolvation. Oh my gosh. Reduce intrinsic motivation. Self-efficiency is the belief in your ability to succeed, which can also increase motivation. Social motives are achievement, which is the desire to exceed, affiliation, desire for friendly relationships, intimacy, desire for deep connections. These all are ways that you could be motivated. Also, there is a expectancy theory that says people are most motivated when they believe their effort will lead to success and will be rewarded. An example, it's students are more motivated when they feel they have choices and teachers support them rather than pressure them. For more theories of motivation, the instinct theory by William James, it's behavioral driven and criticized because learning also shapes behaviors. Drive theory, which motivation comes from biological needs in homesteads. Needs, drives, and behavior, they restore a balance, and habits form when a behavior repeatedly reduces a drive. That's the drive theory. Arousal theory is when people seek optimal levels of arousal. Too low would cause boredom, and too high would cause stress. York's Johnson law is about simple tasks are best with arousal, and complex tasks are best with low arousal. And for an extra, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which says motivation is often influenced by whether basic needs are met. Now, for 10.2, hunger, eating, and metabolism and body weight. So, physiological mechanisms of hunger, like an empty stomach, contracts, and hunger pangs. This is why we're hungry. Low blood glucose to pancreas and liver sends hunger signals, and eating stops when your blood glucose rises. Digestive tract signals fullness. Fat cells release leptin, and hunger and satiety signs integrate the hypothalamus. Metabolism and body weight. Weight equals calories versus calories burned. At the metabolic rate varies among individuals. There's a set point theory that a body has genetically determined ideal weight. Body weight is influenced by genes, environment, lifestyles, and activity levels. Also, hormones involved. The ghrelin increases hunger and leptin decreases hunger. For 10.2, obesity, Prader-Willi syndrome. So for obesity, a BMI of 25 to 29.9 is overweight. A BMI plus 30 is obese, and a BMI plus 40 is severely obese. BMI is limited and doesn't reflect versus fat, fitness level, and radical differences. Obesity risks heart disease, stroke, diabetes, cancers, infertility, and arthritis. Contributing factors would be genes, the environment, high-calorie diets, and low physical activity. Socioeconomic barriers are lack of safe spaces to exercise and limited to healthy foods. Treatment would be diet and exercise. Bariatric surgery for severe cases, it would reduce stomach size or absorption. The Prader-Wills syndrome is a genetic disorder causing intense hunger and low metabolism, leads to obesity, congestive delays, emotional issues, and is caused by hypothalamic abnormalities. It's also now for 10.3 sexual behaviors, orientation, and cultural factors. Sexual behaviors and motivation, where sex is important for reproduction but also involves complex human motivations. Hypothalamus is key. Lessons show ability and motivation come from different brain systems. Amygdala and nucleus accumbens control sexual motivation, not physical ability. Hormones, especially testosterone, influence sexual motivation across genders. Sexual orientations, defined as emotional, romantic, and erotic attraction. It includes lesbian, gay, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, heterosexual, etc. And cultural factors are sexuality and gender definitions vary by culture. U.S. historically heteronormative and cisnormative. And some cultures accept or institutionalize same-sex behavior. Also, on a biological basis, research shows sexual orientation has genetic, parental hormone, and brain structure influences. It also has social attitudes, which acceptance of sexual orientation varies in cultures and normalized. Now for 10.3, Kinsey research, Maynard Johnson's research, and gender identity. Kinsey's research shows that in 1940s through the 50s, the first large-scale of scientific sex research via surveys, it revealed a wide variety of normal sexual behaviors like women being as interested / experiences men, masturbating is common and healthy, and same-sex relationships are common. Masters and John's research in 1960s observed sexual activity and measured physiological response. There's 4 phases of sexual responsive cycle: excitement, excitement, arousal, erection, lubrication, plan to increase blood flow to the muscle tension, orgasm, rhythmic contractions, and ejaculations in male. Resolution, return to the unaroused state, and refractory period that cannot have another orgasm. It varies by individuals and age. The gender identity is where one internal sense of gender, but it's different than sexual orientation. Transitioning would consist of name, pronouns, clothing, documents, and IDs. For medical transitions, you would have to need hormones and surgeries. Intersex is for individuals with variations of sex traits or reproductive anatomy. Cisgender is when an identity matches assigned sex at birth. For 10.4, emotion, emotional in autism, and facial expressions in culture. For emotion, it says that emotion is a subjective feeling, state, It's made up of 4 components: subjective, experience, expression, cognitive, and physiological response. For subjective, it's an internal feelings. For expression, it's verbal and nonverbal behavior. For cognitive appraisal, thinking about meaning. And psychological response is a heart rate or sweating. Emotions may start with internal or external stimulus. Emotion and autism, but individuals with ASD have difficulty recognizing facial expressions or difficulty expressing emotion. Facial expressions in culture. 7 universal facial expressions are happiness, surprise, sadness, fear, disgust, contempt, anger. The body language also helps with showing emotion. And with that, the Paul Ekman research also shows that cross-cultural studies showed universal expressions, and some coaches encourage emotional expression while others encourage hiding emotions. For 10.4, major theories and emotional regulation research, it says that James Lange theory, it's physiological arousal with emotion, like basically saying I'm trembling, so I must be scared. The Cannon-Brad theory is emotion plus psychological arousal happens at the same time independently. So basically, we feel fear and physical response at the same time. For facial feedback hypothesis, facial expressions influence emotional experience. Smiling can make you feel happier, and frowning can reduce positive emotions. The Scholar-Singer two-factor theory is emotion equals psychological arousal and cognitive labeling. Appeal theory, cognitive comes first, then emotion. Thinking about something is good, bad, or determined emotion. Automatic emotion regulation, where emotions can be regulated automatically without conscious or effort.